Hi, Don and Albert.
Hello.
Now the guy from Singapore just called back. Let me pull him in quick, guys.
Yeah.
Hi, is this Mike from Singapore?
Of course, my dear. Your topics are always hot topic. I tried to call you earlier, dear, and you didn't bring me, but then I at least you could hear me, and then you would fix it. But
you guys, hold on a sec. I got to do a 2-minute intro, otherwise the other audience in the world is not going to understand what this show is about.
Sure. So, no problem, dear.
Don Gallimore, one of our co-hosts, grew up in Milwaukee. I went to a 50th anniversary conference this weekend in Milwaukee. About 14 draft card burners, 7 who were priests, who burned draft cards, stood around, waited to get arrested, and went to prison for a year. It was called the Stand Around or Witness Movement. There is now a new movie about it called Hit and Stay. It's available on Amazon and other places. Basically, I just want to read a small excerpt from Michael Cullen's autobiography about the times. Now, the reason they decided to do this action is because the Catonsville 9 event that was in Catonsville, Maryland, was conducted by 2 priests, Phil and Dan Berrigan, who were famous in the 60s. They took the draft files out of the Catonsville draft board office and burned them with homemade napalm in the parking lot of the Maryland federal office. Well, about 6 months later, the Milwaukee 14 did the same thing, but this time they had 10,000 draft files. 5 were priests, 1 was a Benedictine monk, 1 was a Jesuit, and 1 was a member of the Christian Brothers. Michael Cullen says in this excerpt, Pope Paul had come to the United Nations in the 60s pleading for peace. He said, war, never again. The same Paul had written the fantastic document Progresso Populorum, which deals with equal distribution of goods on earth. Pope Paul had written that the goods of the earth belong to the people. But he, like the rest of the church, lost credibility. Though truly a man of peace, he did not press for peace in any real and compelling way. Besides, Paul had become incredible with naivety and simplistic approach to birth control, but by not listening to his own commission. He also made absurd trips to Latin America and Africa and acted more like a Johnson or Nixon or Agnew, a man of the state rather than a man of God. Pope Paul was a product of the church. Like millions of others, I began to see the institutional church just as another corporation dedicated to self-interest, self-preservation, self-perpetuation. All of the goals are natural and unchristian. If not of all the institutional churches cannot be Christian, the Church of Christ. The church corporation cannot live the message of Christ that unless the grain of wheat dies, it cannot bear fruit. The church corporation never really gets down to the message, the simple message of the gospel. So since everybody's been holding so long, I'm not going to read any more tonight. But Don, I'm going to let Don go first and kind of recap just briefly what it was like growing up in the 60s in Milwaukee.
Hey, everybody. This was, hi, Mike. Albert.
Nice.
Yeah, Milwaukee was kind of on the fringe of a lot of things that were from Chicago, Detroit, and some things from Indianapolis and Minneapolis. And we're kind of in the center of all of that. So, but we're up in the northern part of the country, in the middle north of the country. So we kind of were insulated in a way from all the things that were going on in the big hubs. But my mom was right in the middle of it. She was the first black policewoman in the state of Wisconsin. So she was able to get us to the best parties and meet the best people and the biggest union members, things like that. So it was a really great time in Wisconsin, I was kind of forced to integrate my junior high school, middle school, and so I was in a particularly interesting place. We were upper middle class, so we had a pretty good income, the first things in town, and Milwaukee was open enough for intellectuals to let things kind of slide. And with me, I was able to slide through because of the connections that I had. But for the most part, we were just as, there was a very radical part of Wisconsin led by Catholic priests. And Father Groppi, Fred Groppi, he was one of the main civil rights activists who would take us out every day for a while there, and I believe it was 67-ish, and we would march, my mom, myself, my brother, every day up Wisconsin Avenue. So we had that civil rights personality since we were born. So Milwaukee allowed a lot of freedom to grow, and that was one of the things. I went to Marquette. I graduated in 4 years, which is unheard of for an African-American man, but it was something that I did from a Jesuit university, and I just, put my head down and went forward. And that's the only thing you can do in Wisconsin as a minority man, is to continue to press on. And I learned that, through winning the championship, national championship in basketball at Marquette. I was not on the team, but I did play pickup games against the teams. And
Don, can I mention something quick?
Sure.
Marquette University was noted for recruiting good black athletes and giving them more than other Big Ten universities, but also some of the black athletes walked out during. Marquette was a very active place for the anti-war movement, and at one time the black athletes walked out right before a basketball game to protest the war, and they were kicked off the team, but I believe they were rehired a week later because of the controversy. And then also the Milwaukee 14 draft card burners, they were given, the reason they decided to do it in Milwaukee was because it was the only place in the country where that type of movement hadn't happened. And they wanted to make a demonstration that the conservative, like the Polish and the conservative people of Wisconsin would get some kind of shock that realized that the war had come home this far and that people weren't going to tolerate this type of foreign intervention. So that's why they did it there. That was one reason. The other reason was the close proximity of all 9 draft boards in the same building, which made it easy to raid the offices.
Exactly.
But keep going. You can talk a few more minutes, and then we'll give Albert and Mike a chance.
Well, they can always jump in and ask questions because people don't they underestimate people from the Midwest. And this is not necessarily subjective, but it's kind of objective. And part of it is the reason that you just mentioned. It was actually much more of a smorgasbord of people and cultures in Wisconsin and Illinois than there probably were than any place that sans New York, Los Angeles, and San Francisco. So everybody in the world lived and grew up, long-time residents of Wisconsin and Milwaukee. So we lived.
And actually, a lot of the actions were on the far East Coast. Like if anyone gets a chance to see Hit and Stay, most of the actions were on the upper seaboard or in the mid-Atlantic area. California didn't have a similar action until around 69 or 70, even though Berkeley was really active in the anti-war movement. So they didn't have a draft burning episode. It was only the Milwaukee 14, the Catonsville 9, and then after that a ton of action sprung up in New Jersey, New York, and places like that. So does Albert or Mike have any comments yet?
Yes, I mean, Milwaukee 14 was a fiery 68 protest against the Vietnam War. Is that right? On September 24, 1968.
Yes, by the way, Mike, I've met with all of them individually. I've interviewed them, and I've been working on the screenplay 20-plus years. So I was at the conference this week. It was the 50th anniversary this weekend that they burned the draft record.
Because, because people are pissed from wars, because wars bring destruction, and we need construction, peace. We need order and peace, love, unity. Otherwise, we keep making new weapons. Okay, we want to try it. Go ahead, put it on Somalia this time. Go ahead, put it in Syria this time. Put a new weapon. So we test the weapons on the other countries. I mean, each one has cost like 10 millions of dollars. I mean, but they're ready to do that, but they're not ready to help to American people and make America great. America was never great.
Please don't use those words tonight.
Okay, but because 60% of all that money, taxes we give, etc., goes to the military-industrial complex.
Right.
What the hell is wrong with the
a very large portion goes to the military complex. Yeah. We do have another caller on the line. It'll take me a minute to bring that caller in quick.
Yeah,
Mike,
go ahead, sir. Go ahead.
The simple answer to that is that those in the military pharmaceutical complex are calling it progress. Everything has a symbol in America, in the world. Everything has a symbol. Everything has something that people consider valuing worship over. And in America, we don't have those same kind of inculcated religions or ceremonies or anything like that. So the thing that we revere and in a lot of ways worship is greed and money, and we veil those by calling it progress. So when we can destroy other countries, take over other governments, and incur the wrath or the evils that we have underlying in our development, then we have to call it something that sounds good, and we call it progress.
Yes, and I'm sure you know about Move 9 in 1976. Philadelphia, they dropped a bomb. It's almost total of one street, like many houses were, boom, catch a fire. I mean, destroyed so many apartments. I mean, because they went after John Cash. And John Cash at that time said, it will come a time that they will charge you for water when you're outside. I mean, they come, suck the water from the Lake Michigan, from the, from all the, Idaho, California, or other places. They suck it. It's free. It costs the Coke company maybe 2 cents, but then they sell it to you for $3, more equivalent to 1 gallon of gas.
And
that's
called
problem.
progress. Mike, that's called progress. When a segment of 30% of 1% of the population can squeeze every penny, every quarter of a penny out of each and every person in the country, that is a significant increase in their income. Therefore, they are experiencing progress. Their bank accounts are filling up. They can buy airplanes and expensive cars and the best, 5 or 6 houses. And for them, that's called progress. So
absolutely,
what you're saying, before you say it or think it, you might want to think about what it is that you are trying to convey, because in many instances, because the masses look at the top of the hierarchy for support, love, and again, worship. And so these 30% of the top 1%ers have the opportunity to show the world, just how much progress there is. It's for them, exclusively.
Of course, yeah.
But
can we pull Wade and Albert into this conversation?
Sure. Just let me say this real quick. The Pope,
okay.
When Dane brought up the Pope, it's the same thing. The Pope is sitting on this pedestal. I went to Vatican. The Vatican is huge, and it's got reinforced walls and forts and security and things like that all around it. So, in essence, he's sitting high on his hog.
Don, let me clarify that Vatican that I was reading about was in the early 60s, but it was the Vatican II that opened up the windows of the church in the mid-60s. They took Latin speech out of the service. They allowed ecumenical exchange between Catholics, Lutherans, Presbyterians. They had more ecumenical conferences. And they also modernized some of the social issues. It was called the Vatican II, and a lot of the priests at that time that I wrote about felt like that was kind of like it was kind of like one of the catapults that promoted other movements in the 60s. Things getting more modernized and less stiff. However, they didn't relent on birth control and some other things.
Yeah, right. Whatever.
Yes.
The Catholic Church is evil. I went to a Catholic university. Whatever period there was, the priests were still drunk as hell and sodomizing boys and girls. The nuns did it too.
You know what? That wasn't that many people, Don. Don't diss the church.
Honey, the church is dissed itself.
But it happens in other religions. Anyway, that's why people. If you want to study, open your Bible at your home, study, and according to your understanding, you understand what the verses suppose it means. That's it. You don't need somebody priest come and tell you what to do, and then molest you and all these dirty tricks that they have under their sleeves. And whether it's more money than whether
Mike,
it's...
I do have to jump in, Mike. Okay, first of all, started out the show talking about Milwaukee. Now, I was at St. Benedict's the Moor Church, Moor. One thing the Catholic Church did in the city of Milwaukee was they found a way to be part of the social justice movement. They found a way to cater to the poor, to get resources for the poor. Now, you're right. The one thing the Catholic Church should be faulted for is they don't teach people to study the Bible individually. They don't do a lot as far as self-guided Bible tours. They kind of it's kind of like a top-down hierarchy where they They just preach the sermon or homily.
And they want your money.
And they don't teach individual Bible studies.
Yes.
Well, the thing is about Milwaukee, though, the priests did put themselves in the front line. The Marquette University is one of the premier universities, especially Catholic universities, Jesuit universities, that offers its services to the community. It actually builds things for people in the community that it stays in, which is it's a lower income area, downtown Milwaukee. So it's I give them 100% credit for doing that back in the 60s.
They also were involved. There's a lot of Catholic high schools in Milwaukee. Now let's hear from Albert. Albert's been on the line 30 minutes. So Albert, do you have a comment?
No, I'm good.
Okay, well jump in when you want to. How about you, Wade?
Oh, am I on? Okay, I wasn't sure. Yeah, well, I think like you said, you can't. There are things that the church did that were bad, but that was a small section. There were a lot of things the church did that were good. They're like ending slavery, but definitely, it's a shame these pastors what they did. But yeah, like our guest said, I didn't catch the name.
They've done it for 600 years, Wade.
Oh, yeah, there's been bad things. Yeah, there have been bad.
Don, we're talking about social justice movements. Now, Wade, you grew up Protestant.
There's nothing that can upheave social justice than physical and mental pain and injustice. The Spaniards going through Mexico and South America, they killed everybody they could, and that was mass movement.
Okay, I'm redirecting you a minute. Right now we're talking about the 60s, and we're talking about Father Groppi, who served the black community, and he tried to find housing for his own parish. He said that it wasn't up to the government to serve the blacks. It was up to him, Father Groppi, in his own parish to change the ordinances of the Milwaukee housing city so that black people could be accepted on the south white side. So he took it upon himself to find those ordinances. I want to read one excerpt from A Time to Dance. It's about the Vatican II. And what's so fantastic about the Church as a corporation is that, unlike other corporations, she has a built-in revolution inside her. As a corporation, she has a way of destroying herself, the Church, especially when she gets too big. Maybe that's God's mystery. The Church as a corporation is destroying herself. It's literally being destroyed. She is not being destroyed by the state. On the contrary, most instances, the state would like her to keep her the way she is. The Vatican II served to show us that the corporation is not where it's at. It was difficult for many who had believed in and served the corporation for 30, 40, or more years to watch it break up, to see that it was no longer a sign of what they thought it was supposed to be. Priests, nuns, and lay people suddenly realized they were being crippled and stifled by the legalisms of the church, which had nothing to do with Christ or Christianity. I began to see that only if the corporation continues to crumble can the real church, the real kingdom of heaven, be born and reborn. The fact that this is happening then is no reason to despair or lose faith. On the contrary, it is the occasion for hope and rejoicing. I felt and still feel as if my faith is much stronger than ever before. More than ever, I understand why I have the faith. The institution is not and will not prevent me from being a Christian. Christ did not establish a corporation, but initiated the kingdom of heaven that is mostly lived out as an attitude of mind. And you know that faith is a mystery and a gift. So that was Michael Cullen's words, the one who started the House for the Poor.
Yes, exactly. You covered it correctly because all it seems religion is cooperation now. Even they go to Africa or India or any other poor country, they make them, baptize or whatever, give them books and Jesus Christ save you, okay, and then from the money that these people they don't have, they say you have to pay donation. It's a right of God. It's a God's right. You have to pay, and this blood sucking these people too. I mean, I don't understand it anymore. It is chaos. It's unhumanly, and as long as we have this kind of thing going on, we never have social justice. We never have peace and tranquility around the globe. Go ahead, please.
Yeah. I'm going to let Wade go right after me, but that's the paradox. At the conference this week, and they said, since 9/11 happened, 2001, America's been involved in 8 different wars, and 6 million people have died. So even with movements like the Occupy Wall Street movement and all the other movements, Black Lives Matter, it doesn't seem like the planet's getting any better.
No, it's getting worse because, as you know, they want to bomb 60 countries from the day one after 9/11. And remember, George W. Bush said, Constitution of the United States is goddamn piece of paper. I mean, I ask you right now, do you have a Second Amendment right? You don't have it anymore. Because if you have a gun, they call you a terrorist in the United States right now. They confiscate your guns right away. You have no more Constitution. It's only they rip everything apart already. But it's like a flag. They put a flag. We are like a flag all in the pan, and they put the temperature higher, and then. But we get used to it. It's okay. Take my Second Amendment. Then take
Mike,
my.
I'm going to let Mike. I'm going to let Wade respond to that because
Sure.
Now we have Ben on the line, and he talks about the Constitution a lot. But Wade, before I pull Ben in, can you say something?
Yeah. Well, I was going to say, think about who Jesus' enemies were. They were the religious leaders that would hijack the beliefs for power. There's always people that will try to use belief, and they'll hijack the popular belief. So as Christianity became popular, the Pharisees would infiltrate the church, and so there's always a struggle. There's always a fight with the faith versus the legalism and the people trying to usurp it for power. That's who Jesus spoke against, was the religious leaders.
The Pharisees didn't want the order to change. They wanted to maintain their status and their elitism, and they didn't like the fact that Jesus rocked the boat, including healing people on Sundays or the Sabbath. So I'm gonna have Ben respond to Mike from Singapore's comment. Ben hasn't been on the show since Mike started calling in. Ben, we're talking about the changing of the church and how that. Well, first we talked about the Milwaukee 14, how the church was involved in the anti-war movement, and how there were 2 famous priests, Phil and Dan Berrigan, who participated in the Catonsville 9, and they were worldwide famous priests. It was an action involving burning draft cards in the Catonsville, Maryland draft board office, and then, of course, the screenplay I've been involved with over 20 years, where it was 5 priests, a Benedictine monk, and a Jesuit who burned draft cards and voluntarily served and surrendered themselves and served a year in prison. Well, now we're talking about the church dynamics beginning with the Vatican II in the 60s, which kind of opened up the windows of the church into a more tolerant church as far as liturgy and removing a Latin from the sermons and getting more involved with social justice issues. And then we were talking about how the world hasn't really changed that much, even with the church influence, and and radical individual participation. Ben, what was your response to the comment Mike said about the Constitution and the Second Amendment?
Well, I agree with some of that, but it's because they're mistaken on what we are. They think that they can call this country a democracy, and all you need is a majority to take away every individual right you want. People need to embrace the rights that let you be an individual. And there needs to be more people concerned about inalienable rights and know what that means. Or we'll lose it.
Yeah.
No, last week I was listening to last week's episode, and one thing that bothered me that John said is that even though he's a Christian and he's also served the poor in his neighborhood his whole life, he said the main function of the Constitution in his eyes is to defend his rights, his ability to speak, and no one can remove those rights. But since we're talking about war tonight and burning draft cards, if we are the freest country on earth, but we have no choice on where our tax dollars go, how can we really truly exercise our freedom of speech when when a lot of us are against participation in Afghanistan, Iraq, Yemen, and other proxy wars?
Well, free speech is different than policy, and we can speak out against it. But at the same time, yes, free speech is definitely under attack. I'm very concerned about that, like what's happening in Berkeley, where they shut these talks down with Milo and stuff by like assaulting people going to see it. They even had a free speech event, and mobs came to throw little bombs into the event. And so that is a big threat. And tax dollars, why does the federal government need to collect much at all? Like, our schools should be locally funded, our neighborhoods, everything should be locally funded. We'd have so much less to fight about if we didn't have taxes. Why do 300 million people have to agree on things? It's a recipe for fighting and arguing.
Of course.
Right.
Yeah,
I just did a little bit of math on my wages.
Greed. Greed. Hey, how you doing, Ben? How you doing, Wade?
Hey, what's up?
Hey.
Hey, thank you very much.
Greed.
Well,
we collect plenty of tax money. At least virtually all of our services are covered by taxes. The problem is that we have so much waste. Our waste is significant from defective equipment, leaving diesel trucks on for 8 hours a day, theft of virtually everything that's not bolted down. The waste is phenomenal. I've seen it. And the governmental waste is beyond what anybody can imagine.
Yeah,
that's true. Absolutely. But the way to counter that is accountability, and that comes by holding people accountable and keeping the systems localized. When
you can keep things accountable locally a lot easier.
Right, because you can actually, like, if it's your representative that's making a mistake, they're going to get mobbed by people criticizing them. But when it's some foreign, it's basically our government is split up into thousands of corporations, and you can never find out who's in charge, and it's a bureaucratic process to even get to the bottom of a problem. Look at what the Bundys had to go through. They found out that the contract that they had to sign to be able to ranch basically usurped their constitutional rights. If they signed the contract for the grazing rights, that means that they turn over their land to the management of the government. So that's
true.
where a lot of people, I heard the story from, Ammon Bundy did a radio show. Now that he's out of jail and everything's calmed down a little bit, he's trying to explain to people, no, we didn't skip out on paying our grazing fees. We found out that was usurping our rights. Like, if you sign that contract, that means you're turning over your family farm to the feds to manage it, which they can tell you that you don't get water anymore, or they can tell you don't own it anymore. They can tell you you're trespassing on your own land if you do that.
Yeah.
So that's why they didn't want to sign the contract, because it brings it from a constitutional legal issue to a two-party contract where you're a business deal with the government, and that's not a fair trial. If you have a problem with the federal government agency, you have to take that problem to a federal judge. That's like going to the offender and asking for a fair trial. That's not fair.
Yeah. Oh, wow. Well said. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Sometimes what happens is these institutions also will justify their existence. So they'll keep these like really stupid, ridiculous projects going, and they'll find like just useless things to do because, they need to show that that they need the money. They need to justify their existence. And this sinks into social justice things too, where people will like find these causes that are just ridiculous just to justify the existence of their institution and get funding. And it's just ridiculous the way we waste money.
And we don't take care of our own people as well too. I mean, we pay Europe so much millions and millions of dollars, South Korea millions, of Africa millions. I mean, everywhere is our nose is millions. We just write a blank check and we keep printing money and give it to them. And then what happens? Then Americans should have already, a great health care that they deserve. But I mean, if GOP, if Republican wins, means is end of your health care system and end of your Social Security that you paid towards it, and it will be end of your Medicare, for example. They send you a check for $700, say you go buy your own insurance. For each one of you guys, average, say it will be $1,500. So where the hell you bringing another $800 to pay to buy insurance? Plus you have to pay doctor fees. Plus they have deductions and all the crap they have. So you cannot have that. So you're automatically going to die. Is this is this a country that has billions of dollars keep giving it to Johannesburg? They're making a low-income housing for the people in South Africa on behalf of American taxpayers' money. And then look at where is that hurricane hit, Florence, or the other one that hit in Florida before. Look at it. It still is a mess over there. And then in Johannesburg, go see it. Go Google it and find it. That the superstructure, the building is like a China, and all for the brand new apartments. Brand new. And well, we have rights. We have to, they forgot us. And that's not right.
There's a lot of points to hit on. Well, the overall point you were making was that we're given too much. And two, I mean, we're funding people that end up being our enemies. And I hear people saying, oh, well, there shouldn't be strings attached to our charity. Heck yeah, why should we not? Like, there should always be strings attached. Like, why should you get to be horrible and a jerk and hateful and threaten my life, and I'm still going to give charity? Like, no. No, we should have strings. If we are going to give money to these other countries, there should definitely be strings attached.
Yeah. That's like what Trump was saying today in the UN Council meeting. He reminded the world that we reject globalism. I've never heard a president ever say that. I've never heard a president say we reject globalism and we want to pay less than 25% of security for countries that we defend. There's not only 4 countries in the
we don't openly reject globalism.
Our president announced to the entire world today in front of the UN Council that we reject globalism.
I reject globalism. I'm against it.
Well, I disagree on some levels because here's amped up nationalism has caused difficulty with our relationships with Canada and China.
Yeah,
Canada
was never a sore. It was never a wound in American relations, and now Trump has created a type of tension with Canada that was completely unnecessary. Now, it's possible to operate from a nationalistic perspective without giving way completely to globalism, but people have to bear in mind that we are in a global economy, and we have been for several years, and we are dependent on imports.
Yes.
It's strategic. It's a strategic thing to say, especially from that pulpit that he was at. He had to say that because he needs to let everybody know that we won't be dictated by their wishes, especially when we are the biggest force on the earth, and we're paying to defend countries that aren't paying to match what we spend. They expect us to be there. If anything happens to any of these little countries, they expect us to be there in a heartbeat.
Yeah.
But that's like having, not paying your car insurance for years, and then you get in a fender bender and you expect them to give you a new car. It's not how that works.
I think a good analogy is
some
like,
countries in Europe have increased their military defense spending in the last few years.
That's good. I think a good analogy is...
Go ahead, Wade, and then I'll go.
Oh, a good analogy is like, in society, like as an individual, I need to work with other people, I need to buy and sell things and trade with people. That's different from saying, like, my friends get to boss me around. If my friends have been like, demanding that I let them borrow everything and not pay me back and keep, taking advantage of me, and then I stick up for myself and I say, okay, like this is like nationalism. I say, okay, that's enough. I'm going to, not just give things away. You've got to have some respect for me, and, you can't just take advantage. And then, like a lot of friends will be like mad at me and be, well, what are you doing? Like I experienced that a lot in LA, but I think that's a good analogy is that we do have a global economy, but also like we can't be like pushed around and dictated and taken advantage of.
Yes, think globally, act locally. But the question is, you cannot just come suddenly say, okay, everything we have from NAFTA to other countries that, we have this, we have that. Everything is, and now we want, we want to destroy everything. Trump wants to destroy everything between Canada, Mexico, and around the globe. No, destroy it, and then he wants to say, okay, we do this, we do this.
I would say alter, not destroy. Okay, here's some food for thought. In 2018, the U.S. did spend $623 billion on national defense, which in reality translates to about 3.5% of the gross domestic product. What Trump was proposing is that the European Union countries spend at least 2% of their GDP on the military. But just think about it. If the United States cut and was more efficient with defense spending, they wouldn't have to be in proxy wars in Afghanistan and Yemen, and also Syrian destruction. They could spend more money on a White House infrastructure plan, a border wall, which Trump proposed, which I don't agree with, by the way, and have a 15% corporate tax rate.
Yeah, you know why they want to make a wall? Because American people, they don't want them to run away to South America. That's why. Why they're not making it in the north? Why they don't make a wall between Canada and USA?
And how many Americans do you think would run to South America, technically? Not too many. In fact, when I was talking to the... Yeah.
It's
Go
out of
ahead,
control
Don.
down there.
Go ahead.
Out of control. Nobody is going to go into South America from here. They can't even control their own gang problems. Their gangs are out of control, and it's at the highest level.
Well, Central America's even worse, but a lot of Americans have relocated to Costa Rica.
Yeah, Costa Rica.
None of those countries can be trusted.
Guadalajara and Colombia, Venezuela, or Argentina. A lot of Americans live. I mean, of course, we have a lot of American people in Singapore too. And we have black people, we have white people from America, and they're working here. And I ask
but
them,
that's not the reason. That's not the reason for a wall. The reason for the wall is terrorism and human trafficking and drugs being brought across the border this way.
I'm sorry to say that terrorism is not just the issue. Because we put it, if anybody wants to come to do something bad, they will do it one way or another, my dear friend. They don't need to spend billions of dollars there. Spend it for the humanity of America. Spend it for America. Why right now Hurricane Florence? Still, the rivers are going higher and higher, and basically trillion dollars of damages in Hurricane Florence right now, and 25% of people had a flood insurance. The rest has nothing, and basically
that's not the biggest
we have
threat,
now.
Though hurricanes and spending on emergency and disasters is not the biggest threat to our country. The biggest threat to our country is mass immigration, because the Democrats promise illegal aliens what they're not allowed to give them. And they keep telling them democracy, but as soon as they get the numbers, they're going to try to get rid of our Constitution. And that's something that Trump realizes.
Yeah.
That's something a lot of people here realize. If you import enough people and tell them
do you really think the illegal aliens are going to destroy the Constitution?
It's already Constitution destroyed, my dear. Constitution is already destroyed. It's not up to illegal or etc. But the question is, they already destroyed it. We have nobody. I mean, right now we have, of course, Black Talk. We have right now we have freedom of speech right now, but tomorrow you may not have. They may close your radio
station. Fight for it.
I'm not worried about it.
No,
I am. I mean, look what's going on in Berkeley. I know a lot of people were cheering about Alex Jones getting booted off. I mean, that was like a gang up to get him. They are, there is a huge attacks on free speech and due process. Also, they want, like, you're accused of a rape. That's a woman. You're a man. You're guilty. It's scary.
Okay, let me bring up a certain point to you guys. I know a Yemenese American who was on our show. Her name is Debbie Almantazer. She's Islamic. She's a civil rights activist in New York City. So how do you think the Middle East-born Americans feel about their family members from the 7 countries that are banned having their rights denied? Look at it from the other side. How do you think they feel?
It's pure racism. I mean, we have right now, it doesn't matter you're one of those 7 countries or not. Even American to American has a racism. I mean, how many shootings happen, in so apartments or housing, many people say, this is my line. If you cross it out, that's trespassing. I mean, people are under attack by 5G network. People are attacked by 15 different medications that they take a day. People are constantly attacked under, again, waves, microwave waves, and etc. So people
let me
anymore.
restate this. I do not feel threatened as an American anywhere, but I did hear I was at that conference this week, and one of the guys who went there, he's been to Afghanistan 6 times. There's actually a peace movement there. Albert and I watched a movie called We Are the Giant, where they interviewed a handful of people in 6 troubled spots, like about 4 troubled countries, including Bahrain, where 2 women went up against the government and were jailed. Now, this speaker who was at the conference, he's been to Afghanistan, he's been to Bahrain twice. He was deported out of Bahrain for demonstrating in the streets with civilians. And by the way, he told me in Bahrain they had the entire army in there is Pakistani, and about 50% of the government are foreign workers. So there's hardly any vocal natives in that land. So just think about places like that where even if you walk into the street, you could get arrested just for looking the wrong way, or you can get tear gassed on a daily basis. So at this point, I don't feel threatened. Maybe in the future I will.
But I mean, it's because they give us so much crap every day. And your modem, it should be off at night when you go sleep, because you don't want to have more radiation. They have satellites. They have like 50 millions of satellites in the Earth. They keep scanning. They keep sending waves. We are under attack left and right. That's why we don't have any more conscious anymore. We are sick and sicker get every day as a result. And, it's all these towers, 5G networks, now it's coming within the next 6 months. And
this is one thing that would make Ben happy. Ben,
Mike,
go ahead.
Mike, what would you call that, Mike? That's called progress. Come on, Mike. Everybody, progress. When you have the
progress.
When you have when a segment of the population has the capability of controlling the entire population, and the entire population has sense. Essentially, by doing nothing, when you do nothing, there are just a few people who are doing something. Otherwise, everybody else is doing nothing. And you are right. Eat the wrong things. As I said, I don't eat anything out of a package, a bottle, or a can. And so, if you eat the wrong things, you're going to have a huge segment of population who is that is obese, morbidly obese. Not just obese. And
then diabetic on top of it, heart issues on top of it, psychological, and then they give you all this crap.
But you've got 30%. You've got 30% of 1% who is making money off of all of these maladies. When people get sick in mass, the doctors, the medical centers, that's why we call it the military, pharmaceutical military complex, because everybody is sick. On purpose, they get them sick on purpose, and then they have to spend more and more money to make them well. Breast cancer is completely preventable, and in many instances it was. Now it's become epidemic.
If you become vegetarian, you can do cancer goes away. Vegetarian, just to become veggies, just don't eat meat. But it's hard for us. Yeah, but I mean, or if you're
you guys, we're getting a little bit off topic.
Well, the thing is that I want Mike to understand that what he's saying, there's no woe is me bullshit. It's called progress. And if you're not a part of it, then you're in regression. But there is a way most people can be a part of it, and they need to sell their souls. They need to sell their souls, but there's a possible way that they can have progress or be a part of progress, and that is to be a part of the 30% of the 1%ers. Anybody else who's working, who has their money, who's working for the money, not letting their money work for them, is in regression.
Can I say something quick? In 1976, when Philadelphia police put a bomb inside the complex and so many died, there were a movement called Move 9. Move founder John Africa said, there is not going to be any peace as long as there are innocent people in prison. We know what we are going to do. The point is, people have got to die. Not because we want to die, but this is the price that they are making us pay in order to expose their crimes. Move, long live John Africa. And Move, a spokesperson, Jerry Africa. Go ahead, please.
Did you say the Philadelphia police planted a bomb?
No. In 1976, there were a bunch of, revolutionary kind of, movement called Move 9, and was founded by John Africa. And if you go back, and so Philadelphia police put a bomb, the whole complex went down, and these people were basement, and they claimed that no, you shot our police, which they did not. But it's like Abu Mamaya Jamal, same situation. So they were in prison for 40. One of them was freed, and if you go to democracynow.org, you should be able to find it.
Yep, I'm looking it up right now.
And then basically. Yeah, John Africa also said that, they will sell you a bottle of water. What the hell is that water costs you $3, $4, 1 gallon? That water is not even a penny.
Let me read a recap quick, okay?
Sure.
The Move 9 are innocent men and women who have been in prison since August of '78 following a massive police attack on them at the home in Poulton Village neighborhood of Philadelphia. This was 7 years before the government dropped a bomb on Move, killing 11 people, including 5 babies. It was under the direction of then Mayor Frank Rizzo. Mayor Rizzo's reputation for racism and brutality was well known. It was followed him through the ranks of the police department to the commissioner's office. During this attack, heavy equipment was used to tear down the fence surrounding the home, and cops filled the home with enough tear gas to kill several and their babies, while SWAT teams covered every possible exit. My question to you, Mike, is, was Move kind of like a Black Panther movement of some sort?
And, the leader is a white guy, John Africa, but the wife was black. So it was I think is kind of they wanted to stand for the right, constitutional right. They were pissed because at that time. No, we should not forget it. Because at that time they knew that the Constitution.
Well, they've been in prison for 40 years.
Yeah. Yes,
and they are probably in their 70s or 80s.
Right. One was freed already. If you go to democracynow.org, you shall find the interview with her, the wife of John Africa, and you get a lot of points.
I'm reading all about it right here. It looks like one white guy and 8 black people.
Yeah. That's right.
Well, anyways, that is rather disturbing, but we can go one thing I want to discuss with you guys on Sunday, because part of my conclusion tonight was going to be that the people of the world have to find a way to communicate beyond our disappointment in government. Like, I feel like there's too much expectations on what government can do and perform versus people collectively coming together to make things better, whether it's through NGOs or through movements or other things. Because, like, I was talking to Ben and John quite a bit this week, and I really do think through my discussions with Ben and John that there's way too much focus on what people expect from the government, whether it's good or bad, and how it's failing. And part of the reason I brought up the Vatican II thing from the 1960s, which was a 5-year period where different members of the Catholic Church and the hierarchy met with ecumenical members of other congregations to try to open up dialogue, worship, and communication. And it just seems to me that our world is doomed, because on one hand we have people like Angela Merkel in Germany taking in 1 million Syrian refugees. Half the people condemn her, half the people praise her. But then we're talking about the security of Europe, but it's only talked about from a white nationalistic perspective. And there's just so many overwhelming problems in the world. It just doesn't seem like there's hardly any breakthroughs nowadays, especially with the way the media is slanted. Any comments?
You're very good, synopsis, and that's why I tell you that the Bible, you only need to read Genesis and Revelations and everything else. You can have fun.
Well, there's something.
Well, you have to read the Gospels. Don, you have to read the Gospels, otherwise you're not going to learn how to turn the other cheek.
Right now,
I mean, that should be written down.
You guys, let's give everybody a chance to talk. Let's Wade go first.
Okay,
well, yeah, I mean, I'd love to have written down what you said. Like, that is so what I'm thinking. Like, boy, I'm right there with, like, enough, like, why isn't the government this or that? Like, we need to do, the government needs to get out of the way. We need to do these things. Absolutely.
Right. That's what I was trying to say, is that there's something that me, John, and Wade all agree on, is that most of these problems that we go back and forth about are because there's too much government. They need to get out of the way, and it's I'm sorry to say it, but the left keeps wanting more and more government. And that's basically their party platform, is we can create a new agency to take care of this problem. And it's exactly like the pharmaceutical company. They come out with a new pill, but it gives a long list of side effects. Then they got to come out with a new pill to supplement that pill for the side effects that pill gives. That's exactly what they do with the government. We'll create this new agency, and every time you have a new agency, the snake eats more of its own tail.
And it doesn't help the poor. It helps the wealthy politicians and their friends. And
that's what I've been saying.
We can take that application, Ben, and apply it to the Defense Department too, because there is a lot of activity in our military that a lot of people don't know or follow. Like that one episode we did 3 months ago on Syria. We have military advisors over there all the time in different segments of Syria. We have no idea the breadth and depth of our involvement there. We really don't.
Yeah.
Well,
and a stronger military presence in a lot of those places is going to do absolutely no good.
Hey, can I say something, please?
What? Yeah, go ahead, Mike.
Okay, I appreciate you all. Everybody good. Everybody pretty much, we are all on the same page. First of all, our military is aged. I mean, our ships are falling apart. You see? And if really we think that we are this superpower, I don't think so anymore. Because Russia has the top-notch, brand new aircraft carrier, brand new ships. They have one atom bomb. It's called Mother, not MOAB. It's called, it's higher than that. It's one missile. When it reaches closer to the destination, it becomes 10 atom bombs. It can direct to 10 different places. Now, how can you shoot that one? You see, that's a good question. I mean, Russia is top-notch. I mean, China is making every week a new cities. You can go look at it, look it up, Google it. Say, China is making a city every week. And there's a big article on that. But then, while Europe put everything in their infrastructures, roads, airport, whatever, bridges, etc., in United States of America, we have many bridges are falling apart, and roads, forget it, and we have no infrastructure anymore. If a country doesn't have infrastructure anymore, we are already going to be dead anyway.
That's called progress.
No,
Yes,
that's
right.
something Trump is working on too. Trump ran on that. He campaigned on the infrastructure and the military.
Hasn't done much for either one, except expend their budget so other people can put that extra money in their bank account. Kind of like the tax.
Yeah, because the Democrats have done nothing but put their foot on the brake the whole time he's been in office. If they would have actually worked with him to try to
thing as everybody
allocate
with
funds.
Obama.
Well, he wrote a lot of executive orders that were all on his own, and he had plenty of people working with him. Obama has, it seems like he has just as much power nowadays as Trump.
Obama hasn't really spoken out till the last few months.
You think he hasn't been active? He's pulling strings behind the scenes. He doesn't want to go to jail for his actual crimes. A lot of people say that he was the scandal-free president. No, he was just the best at hiding it.
Only according to Democrats, yeah.
He wasn't scandal-free.
The problem is that then it's never going to come to fruition. I hate to disappoint you, but they're never going to take Barack Obama to trial. I can bet my right hand on it.
Just like they're not going to take George Bush to trial.
Yeah, or Hillary.
Nixon caused all kinds of problems in the White House, including taping and incriminating himself, and Gerald Ford pardoned him.
He didn't have to go to jail.
I'm just saying that with all the crazy stuff Nixon did, which was all really petty bullshit and paranoia, in the end he got pardoned, and a lot of people were angry about it because Nixon's crimes went way beyond his self-incrimination. He bombed the living shit out of Cambodia illegally. Just, things have gone on in America for so long that it's just ridiculous the way that our government has behaved.
How did Switzerland?
Progress.
Yes, you're right, my friend. Right on.
Switzerland.
Switzerland. Yeah, right now in Germany they made
I'll buy you a
ticket.
Maybe
new hydrogen train that it doesn't give a smoke out anything. It works with hydrogen and it goes to over 140 kilometers or 110 miles roughly an hour, and it can go for 1 day. This is Germany. They made a new, brand new. And look at our trains, my dear. I mean, even any city's train, or buses, you would see it. You say no. I'd rather to walk. You see, because it smells. I mean, if they don't keep it in good condition and it's aged buses, it gives a lot of carbon out, dioxide out. And trains, my gosh, it's not. I mean, please, if you haven't seen Europe or even Canada, go to Canada, please. any borderline, anywhere you want. Just as soon as you put your leg in Canada, you see what the hell is these
Ben,
people are doing.
Ben's call dropped by mistake. Ben, I see you called back in. You're back on the line, Ben. I have a question for you guys. Right. We're gonna wrap this up in 20 minutes, but there's two questions I have, which I'm gonna do my own conclusion. But being the fact that now Trump's in the spotlight with this UN situation going on this week, are we alienating China more, and is it going to drive China more towards Russia? And what do you guys see in the next 3 to 5 years going on in the world as far as chaos and trouble? Think about it for Sunday.
Okay, because yes. The trade the discussions between Xi and Trump are not materializing. We are trying to go above and beyond the tax. Excuse me. Tax tariffs. We're trying to. It's almost like a game with our president.
Well, I was talking to Ben last night. Did you know there's a California businessman? He imports like light and lead products for his lighting business of some sort, which involves a lot of complicated batteries and other equipment. Well, he told National Public Radio that he was going to import. He's going to send the Chinese-made products through the Philippines back to his business in California to avoid tariffs that the Chinese would have imposed on them had they sent it directly to California. In other words, they're bucking the system because of the Trump tariffs.
Yes, as I said. Yes, exactly.
Progress.
Yes.
Don, think of a new idea. Progress. Amen. My ass. It's not progress. It's deception.
The 30% of the 1%ers are benefiting. Therefore, ergo, everyone benefits.
Aren't the Chinese doing a lot of tariffs on us? I mean, shouldn't we be pressuring them to
counter tariffs to punish us?
I thought they were doing them before, and he was countering to punish them. I don't know. I'll try to look into it more.
Yeah, there was
you can do that for next week. Wait, I'll assign that role to you, the Chinese tariffs.
Can I share with you one news that everybody maybe heard it or not? In Iran, in Ahvaz, city of Ahvaz, which is close to to the Arabs. I mean Saudi Arabia and etc. Iraq. So anyway, there was a military parade, and it was same as the Venezuela. You remember about 2-3 weeks ago, Venezuela, there was a drone trying to attack the president of Venezuela. But this time it was as they were parade about 4 or 5 gunmen, and they tried to kill the President Rouhani. And as a result, 30 died and 75 injured. And two of the attackers, they were captured alive, but ISIS claimed that they did it, but there was another spokesperson for the liberation of Ahvaz from Iran. They want their their own government, but it's more belong to the Arab section of the other side, Iraq. And then this was a headline news, and we know President Rouhani, I don't know if he has already talked in United Nations or not, maybe it's tomorrow after the Trump, which already spoken, but I haven't heard anything from the Trump his interview completely, but I heard that, a few things he said of the, what he's supposed to say. And I don't know. You guys heard it? Did you? Do you have anything to say about the President Trump speech on UN?
I like it.
I heard there was some killing in Iraq this week.
He's putting them in check. He's putting the whole UN on blast.
Can you give more details, Ben? I just barely heard a little bit. Like, what I heard was that he boasted about being like the most productive president ever, and then they laughed.
And they laughed.
But these were things that came up in blogs, so I think I'm starting with only kind of the NBC perspective, so I'm not getting the InfoWars perspective. Okay.
Yeah, Don, we heard
it's
it.
Fine. People can laugh.
We heard you say that.
Yeah, they can laugh.
People can laugh, but he actually is. I mean, it's scary for the left to think that he's actually doing a better job than anybody they could put forward to be president. He's a businessman,
yes.
He's a negotiator, and you do not have to be a globalist to be a diplomat.
True.
You can argue on behalf of your own country.
It's pretty hard, though.
Everything he does is illegal, and he lies all the time.
That's a left point of view.
You're really
I don't see it that way.
If you're a good leader, you don't have to toot your own horn.
I'm not a big believer in bragging, but that's a small thing compared to other concerns. But yeah, everybody is accusing everybody of lying, so it just takes a lot of research to find out who's really lying.
Absolutely.
Wade's in charge of the Chinese trade next week. Don, you can be in charge of Donald Trump's lying.
What I was trying to say before my phone cut out was I was trying to bring up something that bothered me that nobody ever talks about with Obama, is that with all the presidents before him dedicating land to this and that, Obama stole more land from the United States people than any other president, than all the other presidents combined.
Wow.
He designated 554 million acres, and that's land and sea combined. So I think that's twice the size of the state of Texas.
Well, where did he do it?
All over the place. All over the place. One of them was...
Well, we'll have to... We don't have that information at the tip of our fingers tonight.
Yeah, I know, but I just wanted to bring it up. That's one of the things that he did that was unconstitutional, and he was abusing the Antiquities Act.
Yes.
Okay.
And
how would you recommend us research this? Go ahead.
What did he put the land on reserve for? Was it future federal land for, like, a preserve?
It was all kinds of reasons, but the one thing that all of it has in common is that once the federal government takes land, it becomes international monetary collateral. So what he was doing was basically taking it from the people and using it as bargaining chips.
Wow.
So the more land, and it doesn't matter.
Was it so we could get more loans or more investors?
Well, you can borrow more. You can borrow more if you put more land on the table. That means that if the federal government, as the corporation, owns this land, like if you look at a map of federal land, like look at Nevada, it's like 96% federal land. And that means that the federal government owns the land, the surface, the 86, okay, whatever. But that means they own the water, the raindrops that land on the ground, they own the wildlife and the minerals underneath the ground, and that means that they can bargain with all of it and they can borrow against it. So once you've borrowed more than the land value, that means that the other countries have basically ownership over that land.
Wow. How can we back up on that?
I'm going to have to look into. Somebody run the show for 2 minutes. I got to take a a human nature break. I'll be right back.
Okay, yeah, that's fine.
I'll send it to the group message real quick.
Okay, appreciate it. Because I mean, not that I don't believe you, but if I pass this on, people are going to be like, no, it's not true, and I'd want to know how I can back that up.
I'll send it, and I'll also send a picture of federal land in the U.S., and that you can back it up by looking at that. You can actually, this article that I'm talking about that shows the Graf, shows all the previous presidents and the land that they designated and they took. Obama is more than double of all of that. And he did a lot of it at the end of his presidency, but it was happening quietly all through his presidency.
Yeah, I have a question for you guys.
Okay.
Mike?
Go ahead. No, go ahead. You finish what you're saying. Go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, since we did some episodes about what happened to the Bundys, this is exactly why the federal government was so heavy-handed when they dealt with them, with the Bundys and the Hammonds and Lavoy Finicum. They didn't care about the Constitution. They didn't care about private property. They cared about shutting these people up, so then other people wouldn't see what's happening to them. They wanted to isolate these situations all over the country and not let them get any airtime. So when they finally grouped together, they actually came down with mercenaries to either kill them or cordon them off or put them in prison, exactly what they did. And they kept them in prison for almost 2 years, like 660 days, without a fair trial.
Right.
They had to let them go.
Yeah.
They had to let them go eventually because there were whistleblowers that were exactly saying how the inside of the organizations were going. I mean, they had hit lists on these people. They had pictures with people that they wanted dead. And the whistleblowers were the ones that actually forced the judge to let them go.
Right. And another thing is, about Alex Jones. I mean, Alex Jones is kept kind of saying, I am mad as hell. I cannot take it anymore. And they have banned me from Twitter or from everywhere, Facebook, YouTube, and etc., or PayPal too, because they're choking him to death right now because, Alex Jones, unfortunately, he is part of the Illuminati. He is part of the globalist, the bad element of the globalist. And his wife was a Jew, that. So he has already double citizenship. He is an Israeli already, because once you marry to a Jewish, you become Jewish, and automatically you are Israeli passport you get. And then I know he had a bad divorce with her, etc. And then later, I think he remarried, I believe, or not. But it seems some said he remarried. So, and it was about the kids' custody and issues. But still, this guy, it started distracting us. God distracting us with Alex Jones, and Alex Jones kept going on the wave and say freedom of speech, blah 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 for me. Oh, Trump, please support me, please, blah blah blah. Actually, he is just trying to play with mind games with all of us. What do you think, please? That's my question to you, all of you, please. Go ahead.
I don't know. Yeah, you need to. I need to get more evidence for that theory. I don't. Anybody could always be playing with us, mind games. Anybody could be. But like Jesus said when he said, he came and he said, no man can serve two masters, and I don't know. Why I don't have evidence to see it that way. Like, why would why would Alex Jones be saying everybody should have free speech? They're going to go after everybody. What would the game be? I'm not sure.
I mean, his entertainment, it's his thing is based on entertainment. I mean, he's not there. You see, right? We talk civilized together. Okay, we may not agree in some issues, but I'm not cutting your throat. You are not cutting my throat off. We are exercising real democracy.
Absolutely.
We are the Democratic Republic of the U.S.
Alex Jones. I don't know about Alex Jones himself and his motives. He's a little bit eccentric for me, and I don't believe everything he says. But he has given a platform to people like David Knight, who I really respect, and I think he's a great journalist. So if the whole network goes down, that's frustrating because, like I said, David Knight, he was one of the only ones covering on the ground what was going on with the Malheur trial and the occupation there and the backstory that goes along with it. So was John Rappaport. He wrote a really good article tying the land with the Hammond's Ranch to the Uranium One deal. And these people are associated with Alex Jones, but Alex Jones didn't touch that subject himself. He didn't say much about it at all, but the people that use his platform, he provides the platform for them to do their journalism and to be heard.
You see, we have honest journalism.
If he was an actual...
Yes.
What's that?
I said we have honest journalism is gone anymore. We don't have honest. Like, we are honest journalists right now, as we are talking.
I think I'm pretty... I'm able to find out who is an honest journalist. Like, I can do my own research, and I can find out if this is total BS or if it's valuable. And I've done my own research, so I know that he's provided a good platform for at least a couple of journalists to do the right thing.
Look at how things play out, too.
Yeah, I'm not saying that Alex Jones himself is a credible journalist 100% of the time. I'm not even saying he's a credible journalist any of the time. He's too far out there and too eccentric for me. But his platform, I've gotten good information from.
Look at how things play out too. I mean, like, CNN, NBC, and before the election, they were like 90% chance that Hillary is going to win, and she didn't. So what does that tell us about their sources? Like, I mean, that told me right there, well, maybe we shouldn't trust these guys. And they talk about feminism as if we're in the 1960s. They're like, I just see the world around me, and I feel these news stations are so out of touch. They'll just do these news articles like, look at what women are doing. It's like they've been doing it for decades. Where have you been?
Or Jeff Rins is another one. I'm sure Rins.com. You go Jeff Rins, he is a Jewish himself, I believe. I think last time we talked about him or not, I'm not sure. He is, but he brings a lot of things on the table. But, he is anti-Jewish also, although himself is Jewish. He has a land $700,000 worth in one of the area in Oregon. It's a very beautiful place anyway. It's the south. It's closer to California. Anyway, the bottom line is he has his own studio. But the question between that, I mean, if you listen to Jeff Rins, 3 hours and 3 guests, and then you listen 1 hour of Alex Jones, you see a lot of difference. I mean, honest journalism, I mean, yes, okay, he can be anti-Jewish, anti-whatever, that's fine. It's his freedom of press, his freedom of speech. I'm not upset about that. But, with Alex Jones, I really, I know Alex Jones from long time actually, but I keep saying he's shouting, and he is like a disturbed man, And if even you want peace, okay, we are talking to each other, and with a soft, very nice voice. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I'm not shouting at you or you shouting at me, but you will be turning off because you even if you're calm, you need probably take your volume right away because he makes you so upset. You see?
Well, people have different style. I don't necessarily.
Yeah.
I mean, style doesn't necessarily go hand in hand with the truth and the correctness of the reality behind what someone's saying. Someone could say something that's true and be very charismatic, and they can also say something that's true and be very calm.
Yes. Okay. Yes. That one, yes, I accept, but not all the time. I mean, maybe 1, 2, 3 times, 4 times, maybe hour, like that. But I mean, everybody needs to see the movie. What's that? I am mad as hell. I cannot take it anymore. It was
that's Alex Jones. Yeah, I know what you. I've seen a lot of it.
Yeah. Right. He is the guy. I mean, but he said the truth in it. I mean, he's made it 40 years ago, 35, 40 years ago. It does make sense what's today. I mean, the Arabs own the United States of America. Chinese own United States of America. Japanese own. We put 2 atom bombs on Nagasaki and Hiroshima, and then we give them $500 billion as a result. You see what I'm saying? That $500 billion belongs to all of us here in the United States.
Yeah, definitely. I wanted to comment, too, on the guy that you said was anti-Semitic. That, I mean, to me, too, that's a bit, I mean, that's a sign of being out of touch with reality, too. That you look at Jews, you got Bernie Sanders as a Jew and also Ben Shapiro as a Jew. Like, they've got so many different positions. So anytime somebody says a huge mass group of a race or a gender, this entire group is thinking this way, it's like, well, that's not reality. People, in a big group, people will have many different agendas, many different point of views.
And clashes of different views or opinions, then real truth shall come. I agree with that.
Yeah. So I mean, you
guys, we're gonna do our conclusions now. We have to do our conclusions now.
Okay, John. You do, go ahead. Ladies
Who's
first.
going first?
No, ladies first. You are the.
Either way.
Well, I'm eating, so I'd rather have someone else go first.
Okay.
Okay. Go ahead, please.
Mike?
Any of you guys.
I'll do it, so I get it done. All right. So somebody goes, okay. Well, I mean, at one point I was just about to make. We were talking about the guy that is kind of anti-Semitic, and I was pointing out that within, just like blacks, whites, within the Jewish community, there's so many different point of views. I mean, Bernie Sanders versus Ben Shapiro have very different point of views. I think there was a lot of good things we agreed on today, like that too much centralized planning, too much government control. We talked about war. I think every war in the world has been because people are trying to control other people. So it's like we got to just cut out this controlling other people. And I brought up Switzerland briefly. I didn't get a chance to bring up why, but like, how do they stay so peaceful? And they're like one of the freest countries, and they don't seem to have a lot of problems like other countries. You just don't hear a lot of drama from Switzerland, so maybe they just kind of are more libertarian. And
That's true. Because they have safest country in the world is like Singapore, and of course everywhere is crime. We cannot say crime free, but at least they treat their prisoners very good because their prisoners they put them in an island so they cannot go anywhere anyway, and they each one of them they have a house, they have internet access. They have foods and everything, and even guards, when they go check everything, they don't carry guns over there with them. So it's so peaceful. Even their prisoners are prisoners. You see, they treat prisoner like a human. Okay, he did the wrong things. He admitted, okay, they went through the trial, but we, as John Africa was saying, we will not have a peace if we have prisoners, as long as we have prisoners in the prison. We have to re-educate these people in the United States, the prisoners, so when the time comes to be released, so they have, they know the technology, they know good, that there is some, okay, they did bad things, but they are going to get a second chance, and they are going to get a job. They are going to get something useful for themselves, and hopefully, psychologically, they have to fit them for release when the time comes. But we don't. We give them there, and everybody killing each other in prison in the United States. I mean, that's not the way. I mean, Sweden or Switzerland, as you mentioned, check it. The prisoners they treat them so humanly. I mean, I was it's incredible that they were talking to the prisoners too, and they were very calm, very nice, and they, they're looking forward when they release. Usually the maximum prison is 20 years over there. If they do very, very bad things, for example, 20 years. For other ones, it's like 5 years or something. Yeah. We have to learn from other countries too. Why the society is the good. Why Singapore society, we are so, we have everybody here. We're scared of each other. We have, I'm not scared of a black man, American black or Somalian here in etc. or white or say, oh my gosh, he's a white.
I work with a lot of Somalians and Ethiopians.
Yes,
Minneapolis has a huge Somalian population, and Liberian and Ethiopian.
Yes.
But anyways, you guys, we got to wrap the show up, so I'm going to do my conclusion. We've been on the air 2 hours. I want everyone for Sunday night's show to look forward to common solutions that we can provide through other alternatives besides government for sustainability, trade, and persistence to a higher good. When Pope John the 23rd announced the Second Vatican, he was trying to break the Catholic Church into more doctrinal issues. This is my conclusion, by the way. The Catholic Church had not challenged itself since 1870 into opening the lines of communications with other Christian denominations, and that's what we need to do as a people, is we need to open up the doors to find better avenues, even beyond the structural media, like even if we have to use other internet tools through blogging to find common ground where we can agree on and kind of reduce the vitriol that's going on in the world. And I'm just going to keep it a simple conclusion because I didn't really get to say what I wanted tonight about the Milwaukee 14 movement. So I'm probably going to bring up some more common themes next Sunday night.
Yeah, we are looking forward to that. That's right. Yeah, sure. But we also have to remember that we are all Americans. We have to look for similarities than differences. I can have a difference with Mr. Don and the other gentleman. I forgot your name. What's your name?
Oh, Wade.
Wade. Okay, Wade. Okay. We may have, but I'm not looking for differences. I'm looking for similarities. So we connect a lot more, and we can all exercise it in the whole United States. Differences is differences. We are not here to do that. We have to be similarities and make United States the mother of all superpowers. Otherwise, with division and divide and conquer, nothing is going to be solved.
Okay, you guys, I'm going to end the show with a song. Wade, did you get your conclusion in effectively?
I did, and I love your idea for next week. That's excellent. Solutions, that is something we should totally talk about. And yep, I'm all done.
Do you think you'll be traveling Sunday night?
Oh, what day of the month is that? Let me see. What's the day of the month?
September 29th. No, September 30th.
Okay. I will be off that day.
Okay, well, nice calling in. Thanks for calling in. Don and Albert, you haven't said anything. But Albert, thanks for staying on the line that long. And hopefully you can think of something to add to Sunday's show if you call in. Okay? With that, I'm playing a song. Good night, everybody. Good night.
Thank you very much for hosting.
All right. Thank you, guys. Good night.
Good night. I met the Lord, got a new way of speaking, new way of teaching, new way of preaching since I met the Lord. New way of working, new way of playing, no time for straying since I met the Lord. Got a new way of planning, new understanding.